Good afternoon and welcome to the virtual college exploration of North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolina Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type any questions to our presenters during the presentation. Your camera and microphone are turned off, so feel free to ask any questions through the chat box, but they will not be able to hear or see you, so keep that in mind. Make sure you sign up for more sessions going to CACRAO.org, and then we will be recording this session as well, and you will have access to that in about a week. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to these lovely ladies to give you this presentation.
Awesome, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and put our information up here. Give it a second. Awesome, welcome everybody. I hope y'all are doing well today. We're gonna start out with a poll. So if you could go to pollev.com/whywomens. As soon as you start answering, you'll see a little green dot pop up on your answer. We just want to get to know you a little bit. So I'll give you maybe like a few seconds to do that. Awesome, looks like lots of studying abroad, studying what I love. We like to see that. Awesome. Thank you so much for letting us know what part of college you're most excited about. That's great information for us to know as we go forward. We're definitely going to talk about college traditions later on, campus community, all of that. Perfect. Well, thank you for participating. Before we dive into content today, we first want to give you some Zoom tips so you can get the most out of your viewing experience today. So if you're joining us from a desktop, the best way to view this is in the side-by-side mode, so you can see us talking and the slides at the same time. We, of course, want you to submit questions during today's webinar. So if you have questions, either submit those in the Q&A box, and we will either answer those in the Q&A or at the very end of the presentation during our question time. So just a few Zoom tips for you. And then, you know, to introduce our topic of the value of women's college experience. So we're going to tell you all about women's colleges, the benefits of attending women's colleges, the similarities and differences throughout the next, 40-ish minutes. So to begin, we want to do another, well, we want to introduce ourselves first, of course. So Carrington, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Carrington O'Brien. I'm an admissions counselor at Meredith College here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hello everyone, my name is Nayara Schuler. I am an assistant director of admissions at Spelman College located.
Hi everybody, I'm Anna Platt. I am the assistant director of admissions and campus visit coordinator at Agnes Scott College in Decatur, Georgia.
Hi, I'm Kayla McKinney. I'm Senior Admission Counselor at Hollins University in Roanoke, Virginia.
Awesome, thanks everybody. So before we start, we also want to do kind of like a word cloud. So let us know what word comes to mind when you hear women's college. We want to know what you think of. I'm going to give you a second to do that. Some leadership, sisterhood, empowerment, great things. Confidence, awesome. Wonderful. Great, well, thank you so much for sharing what you think of when you think of a women's college. A lot of those things are true, and we're definitely going to touch on several of them today. So before this panel, you may have thought that all women's colleges were the same. They definitely have some similarities, but there are also quite a few unique differences. And I am going to tell you about those differences in the terms of academics. So the first thing that all women's colleges have in common academically is that we all offer women-centered education. At co-ed institutions, women's voices are often marginalized, but at women's colleges, we create safe spaces for women to use their voice, share their opinions, and support each other while learning and growing together. Another important similarity is academic freedom. So students at women's colleges feel more at liberty to choose fields that are typically male-dominated, like STEM fields. In fact, women attending women's colleges are 1.5 more times likely to major in math, science, or go down the pre-med track than women at co-ed schools. And this freedom allows students to follow their true passion, and it increases their confidence going into those mostly male-dominated fields. So while our students are pursuing those passions, they're also being supported through advisors. So we give a lot of academic support at women's colleges. Each of our institutions have a robust advising model that serve as strong student support systems. And this is really important, and it speaks to the amazing outcomes of women's college graduates that we'll touch on a little bit later in this presentation. And so I previously mentioned that women's colleges create spaces for women to express their voices without being dismissed. And by doing this, students are more likely to participate in class discussions. Studies have shown that classrooms of only or mainly women students result in those students participating more actively in the classroom. And that does, of course, boost their confidence as well. Lastly, women's colleges have many academic offerings, and one thing that we all have in common is cross-registration opportunities. So most women's colleges offer some type of cross-registration to kind of supplement their women's college experience. So some examples of those are for Spelman and Agnes Scott, we have the ARCH program. So students can cross-register at one of the other 18 colleges in the Metro Atlanta area. Spelman students can also cross-register within the Atlanta University system at Morehouse or Clark Atlanta University. Holland students can cross-register at Roanoke College, and Meredith students can cross-register at cooperating Raleigh colleges. So it's a really great way for our students to, take additional courses outside of the women's college and supplement their education. So all of these similarities make women's colleges strong academic institutions. They build confidence and prepare our students for life after graduation. And I want to touch on some important numbers that benefit our students at our institutions. So typically women's colleges have small class sizes and low student to faculty ratios. And on here, you can see some examples from our 4 institutions. So small class sizes allow for more discussion-based courses with more in-depth conversations. Low student to faculty ratios allow professors to be more hands-on and also increase academic support. It is really important to note the high retention rates at our institutions because it shows the support and overall structure of education really makes our students want to return year after year. So now that you know about how women's colleges are similar academically, I want to tell you what sets us apart academically. And this will really help you figure out what you might be looking for in a college and how to find your best fit institution across women's colleges. So there's 4 categories that I want to touch on here. The first one is geography and demographics. So when looking at colleges, ask yourself, what location do you want to be in? Do you want to be in or near a city? Do you want to be in a suburban setting or a rural setting? Each location definitely has its own pros and cons. For example, Agnes Scott and Spelman are both in urban settings inside the Atlanta perimeter. Meredith is also in an urban setting in Raleigh. And being in those urban settings, it really gives our students access to the city's resources, large numbers of companies and nonprofits for internships, and as well fun things to do on the weekend. Hollins is in a more suburban, almost borderline rural setting near the city of Roanoke. So being in that suburban setting, there is more outdoor experiences and more space for students to spend outdoors. So you really need to kind of figure out what is the right setting for you. Another aspect of geography and demographics is diversity. So as a collective, women's colleges enroll higher percentages of low-income, first-generation, and minority students compared to other institutions in higher education. However, of course, each women's college differs in these numbers. So it's important to do your research on the institution that you want to apply to. Figure out, where are the students coming from? Are they mostly in-state, or do you have out-of-state students? Where are they coming from on those states? Are there international students? What is the percentage of those? Are there first-generation college students? And these will really help you get a sense of the demographics at each institution and help you find the best community for you. The next way in which women's colleges differ is relating to size. So you can think of this as physical size of the campus, size of amenities, how many amenities are available on campus, and the size of the student body. So in terms of physical space, you can ask yourself, how important is the campus space to you? Do you want to be in a campus with a lot of outdoor space? Do you want to be in a campus that is small and easily accessible? So these are really important things to consider. One example of this is Meredith has the Meredith Forest, which is 50 acres of protected habitat for local wildlife. That's a huge benefit for students looking for outdoor space. In terms of amenities, what amenities do you want on campus? Are there things that certain colleges have that others don't? For example, Agnes Scott has an observatory on our campus. So make sure you're writing down exactly what you want from that physical space on campus. In terms of student body, in general, women's colleges are small institutions. However, we still differ in size. Hollins has a little under 800 students, Agnes a little over 1,000, and Spelman and Meredith have a little over 2,000 students. So even though in general, compared to other institutions, these numbers are fairly small, they do feel very different on each of our campuses. So continuing with our differences, every women's college has different academic offerings. So pretty much across all colleges, you can find very popular and common majors like psychology and English, but we also have very unique majors that set us apart. An example of these, Agnes Scott has neuroscience and astrophysics. Spelman has documentary filmmaking, also wonderful for being in Atlanta. Meredith has exercise sports science, and Hollins has clinical psychology and counseling skills. So these are very specific majors that set us apart. So when you're researching women's colleges, make sure you're looking for the majors and minors offered to see if your interests are present. And this goes for graduate programs as well. So we might differ even further when it comes to those graduate programs, so research is key. So I've talked about women's colleges and how they differ in academics, and it's also important to mention that we also differ socially and fiscally. So socially, we each have our own identity and personality, and finding out how you'll fit socially at a college is just as important as it is finding out how you'll fit academically at a college. And my fellow panelist, Kayla, is actually going to talk about our traditions a little bit later. And lastly, of course, we talk about fiscal fit. So we each have our own different costs of attendance, our own different scholarships and financial aid processes. And it's really important to kind of do your research and figure out how those processes work at each women's college you might be interested in. So now that you've learned about the academic similarities that benefit students at women's colleges and the academic differences between us, I'm going to turn it over to Kayla, and she's going to tell you even more about the community and sense of belonging on women's college campuses.
Awesome, thank you, Anna. So there are certainly many factors that women's colleges have in common and many that set them apart from each other. We're going to explore what it means to join a women's college community and what that community has to offer to students. A report from the Women's College Coalition explains that women's colleges are intentional communities that foster lifelong friendships. They're also highly effective in helping students relate to people from different backgrounds. And unlike the perception that many high school students have, and that some of you may have as well, students at women's colleges do have lots of opportunities for social activities with both men and women. These range from on-campus events to visiting nearby colleges, universities, and cities. Every women's college is different in this regard, but all of them strive to offer social experiences based on student interest and demand. So we'll explore some of the experiences that make a women's college community unique from others in just a second. But you might be wondering, who even goes to a women's college, or aren't all of the students at a women's college the same? That's not the case. In fact, the student body at a women's college is often more diverse than that of similar co-ed colleges and universities, even with the smaller average population at women's colleges. Women's college populations tend to reflect a greater variety of racial and ethnic identities, gender identities, sexual orientations, socioeconomic class, and geographic backgrounds across a wider portion of the student body. According to research from UCLA titled "Who Attends a Women's College?", women's colleges currently enroll a more racially and ethnically diverse population of students than any of the comparison institutions. And the same study found that women's college students are the least likely to hail from high schools and neighborhoods that are mostly or completely white. Women's colleges, of course, welcome and support students from a variety of backgrounds with a variety of identities. Due to the small, intimate communities on women's college campuses, students are easily able to access clubs, organizations, academic support, mental and emotional support services, and more that make them feel a sense of belonging on campus. So in addition to cultivating diverse, welcoming communities, women's colleges also offer experiential learning opportunities that strengthen relationships between students, faculty, and a global network of alumni and community connections. So on the next slide, you'll see internships, study abroad programs, unique institutes, leadership experiences, and research programs reinforce the sense of belonging that students feel as they turn their in-class interests into out-of-class actions. These hands-on experiences that are often held outside the walls of a traditional classroom allow women's college students to learn from each other and from their community, which builds social and professional networks for them. On the next slide, we'll take a look at some examples of experiences offered out of class by the 4 colleges you're hearing from today. Opportunities like the ones listed here establish a sense of belonging for students as they are able to pursue their own unique interests and create space for themselves and their talents on campus and in their communities. Spelman's Innovation Lab is a makerspace with tools like 3D printers, laser cutters, and other technology that allows students to integrate art, science, engineering, and technology together. Collins offers a January short term or J-term every year that gives students the entire month of January to focus on a study abroad program, an alumni-sponsored internship, or an independent research project. Agnes Scott's sophomore class Atlanta leadership experience places second-year students in real nonprofits and businesses around Atlanta for a 4-day leadership immersion externship experience. And Meredith's autism program offers undergraduate students hands-on clinical experience for those wishing to attend graduate school or work in the field with individuals with special needs. So if there's one thing that unites all women's colleges, it might be traditions. They seem to be universal across women's colleges. Traditions build community and create lasting bonds that are celebrated throughout the academic year. Some colleges' traditions are even celebrated by or with alumni too. Collins celebrates Tinker Day on a surprise day each fall with canceled classes, costumes, Krispy Kreme donuts, and skits and songs shared between classes after climbing Tinker Mountain, which is near campus. At Agnes Scott, students are welcomed home with Black Cat Week, which is the college's version of homecoming week that includes a bonfire, a formal, class competitions, and trashing the quad with class colors, which is what you see in the photo on the slide. Since 1924, Meredith College's faculty and staff have gathered to entertain students with a spirited production of Alice in Wonderland once every 4 years. That's a much anticipated performance. And last but not least, Spelman celebrates new graduates' first steps into greater service with a march through the Alumni Arch, surrounded by decades of Spelman alumni. And last but not least, the community and sense of belonging extends beyond graduation for women's college students and alumni. An active and involved alumni base and alumni chapters across the US and around the world means that women's college students and graduates have access to a huge support network full of industry leaders who can support them through their professional and personal lives. I'll turn it over to Nyada to share a little bit more with you about the Women's College Alumni Network.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So next we will transition over to discussing leadership in the Women's College Alumni Network. In an article titled A Guide to Women's Colleges, U.S. News and World Report notes that women's colleges are a great choice, quote, a great choice for students interested in leadership. At a women's college, leadership development is everything that it is at a coeducational college, but with an added focus on building confidence and taking a larger interest in women's empowerment and advocacy. From leadership programs to professional mentoring and co-curricular leader experiences, students at women's colleges are encouraged, inspired, and affirmed to develop the character, confidence, and skills to become strong ethical leaders. So let's take a look at some of the unique ways that women's colleges emphasize leadership, empowering students to explore their personal definition of leadership and discover the leader within. Practicing leadership on campus. So according to the Women's College Coalition, students at women's colleges are more likely to participate in challenging extracurricular activities and take on leadership roles in those activities. In a recent study conducted by the National Survey of Student Engagement, researchers discovered that women at single-sex institutions were more engaged in campus life and reported the highest levels of support in their development. Students at women's colleges also tend to have significantly greater satisfaction with their academic, developmental, and personal experiences in comparison to co-ed counterparts. Academic curriculum. So women's colleges often emphasize leadership, designing coursework around that concept. Let's explore our respective women's colleges and ways that leadership development is infused in the academic curriculum and beyond the classroom. So at Agnes Scott College, incoming students take part in a program known as Legacy, and this is an immersive leadership development experience for all incoming students, which takes place before classes begin. At Highlands University, experiential learning is emphasized as for leadership roles. In fact, 3 out of 4 students at Highlands complete at least one internship, and 50% of them complete more than one internship. Additionally, over 1/2 of the students at Highlands study abroad at least once during their college experience. At Meredith College, about 97.7% of students participate in an applied learning experience such as study abroad, undergraduate research, or internships. The Office of Student Leadership and Service assists students with finding their place at Meredith, whether it's through leadership programs, service opportunities, or campus organizations and traditions. And at Spelman College, community engagement is emphasized as a form of leadership. Students are required to complete a certain number of community service hours to satisfy graduation requirements. Additionally, experiential learning is a cornerstone of the Spelman College experience. 70% of the student body participates in study abroad annually. And last but certainly not least, personal leadership development and how that is emphasized at women's colleges. So according to the Women's College Coalition, on average, women's college alum describe their college experience as transformative and view their alma maters as being more effective in cultivating them into well-educated, successful, self-confident leaders than women from co-ed institutions. So next, the alumni network and mentorship. Along with an intentional focus on leadership development, another feature of women's colleges is a strong alumni network as well. Women's colleges provide their students with mentors, an example of women leaders who practice a range of leadership styles. Curious about how vast the alumni networks are? Consider this. Students at Agnes Scott College have access to a network of over 14,000 alumni. Highlands University students have access to a network of over 12,000 alumni. Meredith College has an alumni network of 22,000 plus. And then Spelman College, students have access to a global alumni network of 19,000 plus alumni. So with alumni networks spanning across the globe, students at our respective institutions and women's colleges alike have access to valuable mentors and advocates. So let's take a look at some of the ways in which our alumni mentor students during the admissions process and throughout the college experience, specifically at the colleges represented here today. At Agnes Scott College, alumni actually post jobs and internship opportunities for current students to the college's Handshake system, which is a career and internship website, and this serves as a great opportunity for networking. At Hollins University, they host a Career Connection conference every year where 50 plus alum actually return to campus to assist hosting career-related panels, workshops, and speed networking sessions to help current students explore life after Hollins. At Meredith College, alumni can not only refer a prospective student to have that student's application fee waived, but students can also take part in the Meredith Mentor Program. It's an online mentoring program designed to connect current students with alumni, faculty, and staff, and it enables them to support each other professionally and personally through a short-term connection or long-term relationship. In Spelman College, we have over 59 alumni networks throughout the United States. These chapters not only host annual summer send-offs for our incoming students, but they also coordinate annual scholarship funds or fundraisers every year to develop scholarships for incoming students. Additionally, current students have the opportunity to take part in our Sister to Sister mentoring program, which is a professional mentoring program connecting students with successful alumni. So overall, alumni of women's colleges arguably constitute the most influential professional women's network on the globe. And leading the way, so in spite of the fact that students from women's colleges only make up about 2% of the college graduate population, a women's college education prepares students to have a competitive edge, no matter their chosen field. Armed with leadership skills and a noteworthy educational background, women's college graduates go on to become leaders in diverse fields, from medicine, law, and science to the arts, business, and media. Additionally, women's college graduates have accumulated a variety of firsts, including the first woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, the first woman in a presidential cabinet, and the first woman to serve as the General of the U.S. Army. Just take a look at some of the exceptional outcomes of our alumni that you see in front of you as well. So all in all, women's colleges often encourage students to explore ways to affect positive change, providing a campus environment designed to assist students with developing and realizing their abilities to lead effectively. This in turn contributes to highly skilled and educated graduates ready to make a difference in their chosen path, as well as their local and global communities. So next, I turn it over to Ms. Carrington to bring us towards the end of our presentation.
Thank you so much. So as my co-host kind of shared, we know you're going to have a fantastic 4 years when you're attending a women's college, but what about after graduation? How do you go from a stellar undergrad to a stellar alum like we saw on the previous slide? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So you've probably heard someone say in the past, women's college graduates aren't prepared for the real world, right? You might have heard that in high school, maybe from a teacher or a counselor. Is that true? Is that something that you need to be worried about? Well, in order to answer that, I really want to hear a little bit about what you are interested in doing in the real world. So head on over to that poll and we can get some responses. Looks like some are already coming in about what you're interested in doing after college, so that we can talk about how a women's college might get you there. These look great. Looks like we got teach, get a PhD, start my own restaurant, live abroad. These are fantastic. Okay, so obviously you all have some great goals, but are you going to be prepared for those goals? Well, it turns out that most women's college alums are. So you're going to leave a women's college highly skilled. In the 2012 survey, most women's college alums felt that their schools were more effective in teaching them new skills than their co-ed peers. So those skills include writing, public speaking, creative thinking, analytical thinking, and many more. Obviously, all of those skills are going to be really important in any job. Armed with those skills, you're also going to feel prepared. So for that first job or for whatever comes after college, women's colleges alums were almost twice as likely to feel like their college really prepared them for that first job or for graduate school. They also felt more prepared about advancing in their career later down the line. A lot of that has to do with leadership. So you're going to leave a women's college feeling confident. 92% of women's college alums actually reported that they thought that their college helped them develop self-confidence and the ability to take initiative. So that is going to be huge in really any job that you're looking for. So all of that list of those things, getting a PhD, everything to starting your own restaurant, self-confidence is going to be huge. And finally, you're going to leave your campus really well connected. Women's college grads are much more likely to use their alumni or their faculty and friend network to get that first job because they have that powerful women's network at their disposal. And in addition to that, as a women's college grad, you're going to be more likely to have participated in undergraduate research or in internships as a student. And so you're going to have a wealth of opportunities and a network established already when you graduate. So let's talk about some of those opportunities. Where are you going to go? I'm going to talk about just a few of the many opportunities that our campuses offer to kind of help you bridge the path from college to career. So maybe you're interested in government, in law, maybe politics. Some of our colleges do offer a 3+3 law school program so that you can start law school your senior year of college. Meredith offers programs with Elon and Campbell, and Spelman offers a program with Syracuse. And in addition to that, maybe you're more interested in government. Hollins has an admission agreement with the UVA Baton School of Public Policy. So those are all fantastic opportunities. If you're thinking more of STEM, you're wanting to go to medical school or work in research, we do have many programs to help you set yourself up for that. Everything from early medical school selection programs to dual degree programs. Dual degree programs allow you to take courses at multiple institutions and earn multiple degrees at the same time. So maybe in nursing or engineering. Our institutions offer those dual degree programs with NC State, Emory, Georgia Tech, among many, many others. You may also be interested in staying a 5th year if you're at Agnes Scott and doing a master's program in a STEM field. So in addition to those very specific graduate school type opportunities, you may just be interested in getting your career started, maybe start jumping right into an early career program. One thing to think about is that recruiters from graduate schools and companies like IBM or SAS or Cisco, they love to come to women's colleges and hold recruitment events. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that women are still underrepresented in many fields. And so there are so many opportunities to connect with companies and graduate programs right here on our campus. You may decide to pursue an MBA before you go right into the workforce. We do have an MBA program here at Meredith. Or you might just choose to take advantage of that really unbeatable alumni network to help you launch your career and jump straight in. So in terms of all of those opportunities, a lot of them have to do with graduate school. So how many students at women's colleges really pursue graduate school? There's a lot of options, but how many take advantage? So it turns out a lot of us do. More than half of women's college alums who were surveyed in 2012 did say that they did pursue graduate school. So it's really significantly more, as you can see from this graph, than students at co-ed institutions. So if you feel like graduate school is in your future soon or later, anywhere in your future, then you're going to be supported in that goal at a women's college. So all of these stats, they really boil down to one thing, which is that after they leave campus, women's college alumni find fulfillment in fields all over the world. They leave college supported and prepared to make a difference. That's why the vast majority, as you can see, of alums say that they feel very satisfied with the quality of that education. In so many ways, those special 4 years will set you up for a whole lifetime of success, no matter where your journey takes you. So thank you all so much for letting us share why we're passionate about women's colleges and women's education. Hopefully now you're planning to add one of our schools to your college search. So what are your next steps? You should visit and apply. Our schools are offering a mix of virtual visits, on-campus visits, and of course, applications are open for many of our schools. So I recommend that you take a photo of this slide or a screenshot of this slide so that you can connect with us after. If you do have any questions that are specific to a particular school, we would love to answer those later. Always feel free to send us an email, and our addresses are right here, and we'd love to connect. But right now we have left a few minutes to answer some of the questions that you have submitted, and I'm going to turn it over to Anna to moderate those questions.
Awesome, thanks so much. So we do have some questions. Our first question is, are women's colleges more competitive to get into? Who would like to take that one?
I'll start anyway. I think it varies between colleges. So I would say all of the 4 colleges here have a variety of acceptance rates, and I think that goes for our other fellow women's colleges as well. At Hollins, our acceptance rate is about 63 or 64%. What about you all?
Yeah, so it varies. For Spelman this year it was 52%, whereas last year it was 41%. So for us it varies for acceptance rate. If I can add to that as well, in terms of being admitted to a women's college or just being accepted in general, I will note that women's colleges, like any college or institution type, it's about fit. So yes, it's about fit. So when we look at students to review them for admission to the college, specifically, I'll say for Spelman as well, we are looking for fit and to make sure that you are ready for this unique space that our women's college has to offer.
Definitely. I would echo that as well. Not just academic fit, but social fit. Also, like Carrington said, visiting, even if that's virtual, if that's in person, letting us know that you're interested in our college, that's important as well.
Absolutely. And I think that a women's college is a great thing to have in your list of schools that you apply to, because yes, it's true that we're all going to have different acceptance rates, but I think it is important to note as well that you are competing against fewer applicants because, of course, our applicant pool is about half of equivalent small liberal arts schools. So I think it's always great to have one women's college on your list.
Definitely. Staying along the kind of application topic, are women's colleges test optional?
So I'll start. So Spelman College this year, for this application cycle, we just announced about 2 weeks ago that we will be test optional. So standardized testing is not a required part of the application process for us, but we do encourage students, if you've taken the SAT or the ACT and you feel like your test score really can give us a sense of your academic performance, then by all means go ahead and submit that. But we are test optional this year.
Awesome. Agnes Scott is test optional, and we have been for quite a while. So you can either do an interview, you can submit a graded writing sample, or you can submit your test scores. Those are our 3 options.
I also want to point out that Meredith College, like many schools, is test optional for this year, but it's always really important to do your research if you're applying to scholarships, because some of our scholarships at Meredith, and this is true at many schools, are not test optional. So it's always good to connect with your admission counselor and kind of talk to them about whether you should submit your test scores and maybe your plan for applying for scholarships.
And I'll just add that Hollins is also test optional newly for this year. It's a decision we're considering keeping. for the future though, and we are test optional for both admission and for scholarship consideration. And we've implemented some more holistic review processes for those scholarship programs so that we won't need test scores.
Awesome, thank y'all. So next question, same, staying along the application topic. Are deadlines the same at every school?
So the short answer is probably not. I guess we can each go through our deadlines. So for Spelman specifically, we have 3 deadlines for new first-time students. We have an early decision deadline, which is binding, and that's November 1st. Early action is a non-binding deadline, November 15th. And then we have a regular decision deadline, and that deadline is February 1st.
At Hollins, our deadlines are actually the same as Spelman. So the answer to that question for us is yes.
Pretty easy to echo. Ours are almost the same. We have early decision November 1st, early action November 15th, except our regular or our early action 2 actually deadline is January 15th. That is our priority scholarship deadline as well.
So this conversation is really an example of why you need to get a planner and write this down, because ours are 1 day apart from some other ones that were just mentioned. So we have our early decision, which of course is binding, which is November 2nd. Early action is December 1st, and our regular decision priority application is February 15th. It really does vary.
Awesome, thanks y'all. So the next question is, are there ways to connect with current students this semester? And then to kind of follow that up, why is it important to connect with current students?
Yeah, I can start. We do have some ways at Hollins to connect with current students. We're hosting at the website that's listed on the slide, the virtual visits website. We're hosting a series of student panels that we're calling Tinker Talks. Some of them are student moderated. There's always time during that session for you to actually communicate back and forth with students. We also have current students participating in some of our other more overview and information session type events for you to communicate with them as well. And we're working on building in kind of a book an appointment with a current student option as well. It'll be added to that same website, so keep an eye out for that.
We have several ways to connect with current students at Agnes Scott. If you go to that website, you can see all the ways to do that one-on-one or in group settings. We have Scotty chats, we have student panels. Highly recommend it. It's a great way to see if you could see yourself at that college.
At Meredith, we have some options as well. One thing is, if a Meredith admission counselor is visiting your school, there might be a current student with her that can kind of answer some more questions about student life and what it really is like to be a student at Meredith. And we also are going to be launching a way for our tour guides, our student tour guides, to give a live virtual tour as well. So that'll be an exciting way to kind of have that tour guide experience, but virtually.
And I will just add, for Spelman, we do have our virtual information sessions Monday through Friday. So at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we do have current students serve on the panel for that to answer questions. And then we also have a virtual open house week coming up the week of September 21st through the 26th. And it will include both a student panel as well as an Instagram Live campus tour, which will be led by students.
Awesome. We will end with one final question. Carrington, it looks like you have a Meredith specific question in the Q&A box if you want to answer that. But real quick, last question is just, what is one piece of advice that you would give to students going through the college search process and considering a women's college?
I would say, just really quickly, remember yourself in the college admissions process. So it's all about you. This college search is about you, the institution you choose, it's all about you. So remember what's best for you and what you ultimately value in your college experience.
Definitely great advice. I think, looking for those colleges that have the things that you want to pursue, all the things I talked about, the location you want to be in, what size makes you feel comfortable, all of those kind of categories that I talked about earlier, but just, being true to yourself.
All right, and thank you all for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions for CACRAO. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings at cacrao.org. Thank you, and have a great day.